Hi, good afternoon. The UK has been taken over by the feral, the feckless, and the freeloaders, and they've won. The UK is now dead. Sorry to be so depressing, but that's how I feel this afternoon. I've just watched Prime Minister's questions. Not one of those dullards on any side of the House of Commons has a solution to the problem we are in. We are in a terrible situation. We've gone from a land fit for heroes to a land full of zeros, where everybody knows their rights, but nobody knows their bloody responsibilities. And who do I blame for this? I blame the woke. And that's not like saying, oh, the Labour Party, the woke who infest everything. They infest every single aspect of our society. They're in charge of the police. They're in charge of the magistrates. They're in charge of the whole judicial system. They're in charge of our schools. They're in charge of our children at every aspect of their lives. They are infesting public life. The woke are everywhere. And in woke land, nobody is judgmental. All kinds of families are okay. All kinds of lifestyles are okay. You can come to our green and pleasant land, turn it from a sceptred isle into a septic isle, and no one will condemn you. Bring your... Well, somebody got into trouble the other day for saying bringing their kind of culture with them. But it's true. The feckless, the feral, the freeloaders, I could have written the foreigners, but they're all kind of part of the same thing. If I could get out of Britain, I would. And I'm sure you feel the same. The problem is there's nowhere else in the Western world to go. We've all given away our countries. What is it with the West? Why are we ashamed of our glorious history? Of course, we should teach our kids about the downsides of the empire, the negative things, talk about slavery, but it doesn't always have to culminate in we were terrible people, we did slavery. We could mention the fact, of course, that we were the first people to stop it. But no, not in woke world. We have to get the horsehair shirt out and we have to self-flagellate and whip ourselves because we're terrible people. We brought democracy to the world, but somehow we were wrong to do it. And now we're bringing these people in from all over the world to our great country. And well-controlled managed migration has been brilliant for Britain, just like it's been brilliant for America. But it has to be well-controlled and it has to be managed. And these people have to contribute. We've now got a situation where every Tom, Dick and Abdul or Muhammad can get in a life raft in Calais and then end up on our beaches, and we will reward them. We might as well have a big sign on the White Cliffs of Dover saying, all welcome. Bring your trash. Say whatever you want. Live by your standards. Welcome, welcome to Great Britain. But it isn't great anymore, is it? Look, I know some of these people are fleeing persecution, but they're not all fleeing persecution, are they? But we reward them. Free healthcare, priority over Brits who've paid in for years. We also say, come on then, that's fine. Go and stay in that 4-star hotel. Do you fancy that? The BBC used to put me in hotels like that when we were doing outside broadcasts. These are okay hotels. Now completely full of asylum seekers, economic migrants, refugees, whatever you want to call them. The only universal truth is they're all young men of fighting age. We are ridiculous. What are the comments saying? All sat there laughing and joking before PMQs. It's just a game to them, John, says Gary Reeves on Twitter. You're right, my friend. John Mark Turvey on Facebook says, you're on form as per usual. Yeah, this is the Jon Gaunt Show. I'm on Twitter today. I'm on Facebook. And, of course, I am also on YouTube, Jon Gaunt TV. Just start commenting. Write your comments up. You'll be able to see other people's comments as well. If you're listening on the podcast, try out the TV version of this. You'll find it at Jon Gaunt TV. At the moment, I'm just playing with it. That's why I'm doing it at different times. But we'll get into a schedule eventually. Right. The feral, the feckless, the freeloaders. This isn't just about people coming across the channel into our country. It's about the fact that we don't seem to have standards anymore. The woke have taken over. So when you go to school, it is the old cliche of the family sports day, the school sports day. Everybody gets a bloody rosette. There are no longer any losers in Britain, according to the woke. Well, of course, there's plenty of losers. They're just never told they've lost. Listen, the only way you know you've won and the only way you know how to benefit from that is if you've lost. Do you understand what I'm saying? In America, they say you can't be a good businessman until you've been bankrupt at least a couple of times. Well, there's some truth in that. You have to understand failure to get success. But if we give little Johnny, every time they can take part in anything, a rosette, whether it's sports or something else, how do they learn? How do they improve themselves? How do they get better? Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's what we've done. We've kind of dumbed down. After the war, it was all about, it's a land fit for heroes. As I say, it's a land fit for zeros. We're letting everybody in without vetting them, and we're not actually moving forwards. Likewise, there are too many people languishing on the dole. And there's too many people who are swinging the lead. Oh, I'm depressed. I've got a mental illness. Oh, because I'm doing these podcasts. I was looking through the podcast directories and the YouTube videos. Why are so many of them about mental health? And wellness. Until I started doing this, I didn't realize. Hang on a minute. How about being positive and talk about other things? Why does it all have to be wallowing? Oh, my life's shit. Do something. My life's been pretty shit the last few years, but I'm doing something. I'm not doing a podcast about how depressed I am. So it's not just the feckless in terms of them being foreigners coming into our country. What about our politicians? Why don't they get on top of this? Some of these people must have something to offer us. So let's find out what it is. But one of the first things you got to do is deter too many coming. You have. I feel sorry for them. But we can't allow everybody in. Likewise, we can't allow everybody to be on the dole. We can't allow everyone to get a knife, and then we've got to understand why they've got these Rambo knives and they're killing each other in the streets. We've got to intervene. It's obvious. The feckless fathers, see, I don't blame the mothers. The feckless fathers think their responsibility for a child ends when they roll off the woman and light up a fag. It doesn't. You've got to be there as a role model. You've got to be in work. You've got to be showing, especially your sons, that it's important you contribute. But people don't think it's important anymore. Look, when they decided a few months ago, they talked just about the idea of reintroducing a kind of limited form of national service. The BBC had loads of reports of young kids saying, well, I wouldn't do it. What the fuck is it got to do with them? You will do it. We are putting this in, and we're introducing it, and you will do it. I've always said, if you had some form of national service, which doesn't necessarily mean square bashing, because a lot of our armed services wouldn't want them, but what it would do, it takes the feral, the feckless, the freeloaders, the kids who think society owes them something, and mixes them all together, whether they're from Eton or whether they're from normal schools. My dad said to me, it was the biggest waste of 2 years, lad, when I did national service, but I would do it again. He said, because I met people who had a different experience of life. It made me turn from a boy to a man. Now, that's just one example. But the way that story was reported on, particularly by our mainstream, uber-liberal press, the woke, was, we will scupper this before it even starts. Who cares? It's not when they do a vox pop of young people. Who cares? Unless they've got a dustbin and a house, who cares what they think about politics or life. Why do you think Labour want to bring down a voting age? Because they think that will get them more votes. Why do you think Labour are pussyfooting around the Pakistani Muslim rape gangs, calling them Asian? They're not Asian. They're Pakistani origin Muslim boys, men doing it. Why do they pussyfoot around it? Because they're scared the Muslim vote will go against them. Don't believe me? Look at Jess, whatever her name, Jess Phillips. She nearly lost that. 600 votes more the other way should have lost to an independent Muslim candidate who she said, and her team said, had been intimidating her during the election. But no, that's forgotten in the wider scheme of wokeness, because Labour can't afford to lose those votes. That's what's going on. It's been in the papers. The papers have got upset. The mainstream media and the broadcasters talked about these poor girls and being raped and vilified. I mean, just terrible what's happened to them. But now the bus, the rainbow-coloured bus, has moved on. It's hardly being talked about. Listen, we need a full inquiry. I don't care whether it's an inquiry in each town and then feeding in, but nobody's really gone to prison. I want the people who are in authority, the woke, who turned a blind eye to all this, the social service directors, the MPs, the local councillors, probably because they were scared of being accused of being Islamophobic or racist. I want them in the dock. I don't want this to be brushed under the carpet again. And so in 10 years' time, we have to revisit it. I want to think about Sammy Woodhouse and the other victims of this foul, foul crime. It's not just a crime, it's a scandal. It's on an industrial scale. Graham Fletcher, hang on, you said you loved America, didn't you? You could go there, perhaps. Well, I do love America, Graham. And you're obviously too busy today to pull the wings off butterflies. But even if you go to America, well, we'll see after next Monday whether it will change dramatically. I do hope it does under Donald Trump. But the woke infests there as well. This is my point, Graham. You can't escape it. You probably just want to have a row. So well done. You've had a row. The Barron flights. What I want to know is, why do we not know all about Keir Starmer before the election? It transpires there's a lot more dirt to come out about him. Well, there's a lot of comments about him, and certainly the mainstream media. This is part of what I'm saying. The woke, they wanted Starmer. Rishi was never going to get elected. Never in a million years. That's why it's so interesting, Graham, going back for a moment to talk about America. They wanted that in America. They wanted Biden to win. Then, of course, they wanted Kamala. Now it's turned out that Biden was already senile and demented before he won the first time. So then they couldn't keep up this pretense for long enough. So Kamala Harris gets slotted into the job. The cackling hyena. But the American people saw through it. And people like Donald Trump, who's got the common touch, who can talk to America, talk, not to New York, California. It's hard to talk to California at the moment, isn't it? Because they're useless governor. Most of the states have been burnt down. But, he can talk to Middle America. He can talk to the Rust Bucket states. He can appeal to them. And that's why he got elected the first time. And that's why he's going to he has been elected again. But can he change things? We'll have to wait and see. I hope and pray he can. And I hope if he comes in and is tough and is solid, that the rest of the world will follow. Because let's face it, Starmer hasn't got a backbone. And Kemi, how useless is she? How useless are the Conservatives at the moment? There's no opposition. Now, in that poll just recently, Reform came right breathing down the neck of the Conservatives and Labour. Well, beat the Conservatives. Great news. But is Nigel Farage at this moment ready to take on leadership? I don't think he'll make a worse job than anyone we've got. But you see, I'm not looking to any political party. I don't know about reform. We need a blooming revolution in this country. No one voted for all this woke nonsense. Nobody voted to allow people just to get into our country. I thought we voted for Brexit. We didn't even get a Brexit, did we? It's Brexit in name only, because we still can't control our borders. And if you can't control your border, you're not a country. Without borders, you're not a country. You're just this kind of this mess which people who decide they might want to come to. That's where we've gone wrong. We've given it away. And when I'll come back to what you said, Baron Flights. If you want to comment, by the way, just feel free. I'm going to go back to what you said, my friend. The problem is people knew a lot about Starmer, but no one thought Starmer was going to end up being Prime Minister. Nobody in the Labour Party. He was kind of there as a holding guy, yeah? Middle manager, Ricky Gervais out of the office on speed. Well, not speed, but he's not that interesting, is he, to take drugs? That's what Starmer was there for. But then suddenly, because the Conservative Party imploded, I mean, how many bloody prime ministers and leaders did they have the past few years? Even ended up with a lettuce, didn't they? Although the lettuce probably did a better job. And I see the lettuce is coming back now. And now we got Kemi. She hasn't got a clue. So Keir Starmer, he was almost given a free pass because the wokerati, if you want, they kind of decide amongst themselves. Because no matter who you vote for, they always get in. The civil service is full of the woke. They've all been on a common purpose thing. That's why they end up wearing rainbow bloody laces. I've got nothing against gay people, by the way. If you want to be gay, get on with it. I've got nothing against trans people. If you want to do that, get on with it. If that's how you feel good, good. Let's accept you. I don't want you in a toilet where my wife might be. If you're a bloke with a cock, I don't. Sorry. A cock in a frock, then I don't want that. Does that make me a terrible person? No, because nobody's asked us. This is the other thing with the woke. They decide what is right, what is morally right, and most of what they decide, I disagree with. I don't know about you. I think it was better when people went, I'm not a Christian now, but when people went to Sunday school and we kind of had a spine as a society, the kind of things we believed in, and now we have nothing. We haven't, this whole idea of being liberal. It's, it's a more liberal approach to life. Live and let live. Well, no, you have to have some standards. Otherwise, you do end up with mattresses in front gardens and restaurants that will give you food poisoning. Do you see where I'm coming from here? In Thailand, till I die, when my wife came over from Thailand, it cost us over 10 grand in the visa process, John. We paid a fee for the NHS, and within 2 weeks, she was working in a charity shop to learn our money and improve her English. Well, she's exactly the kind of immigrant we need, my friend. And that, I'd cut the translation bill immediately. There's a mayor. What is it? He's the mayor of Bradford or somewhere. He doesn't even speak English. But you see, I don't want this little rant just to be about foreigners, because I think there's a load of indigenous population in this country who are getting away with murder. Literally, sometimes, because nobody in authority, there is no authority, but nobody in authority has got a backbone. No one's willing to say that's wrong. I often tell a tale about Ken Cook. He was my PE teacher, and he used to inspect your pumps, right? Dunlop Green Flash. Was it Dunlop Green Flash? I think it was. Anyway, he'd check them, and if there was just a piece of mud on there, or they were scuffed, he'd go, bend over, Gaunty. And you have to take off your right pump, give it to him, and he'll give you 2 on the arse with it. Now, I'm not saying we need to go back to that world, but I tell you what, you never went back with a dirty kit. You never went back. It only happened to you once. And then you learn the rules. That's why I'm in favour of school uniform. I saw this thing about school uniform. Somebody in Labour, they're trying to push this idea that everybody should get free school uniforms. No, every parent should pay for them. You've got to buy them clothes. Uniform, the clue is in the word uniform. It's to make everyone look the same so that they then develop pride, a sense of belonging. A sense of belonging to a community. Then when they're part, that's why sport is so important in schools. They then become part of the community of that school and then of that city and then a pride in it. Do you see what I'm getting at? That's what we've got. No pride. We're not allowed to be proud of our culture, our heritage. What other country in the world would take Shakespeare and say, oh, we need to have trigger points? We've got to reinterpret Shakespeare because some of the things he said aren't necessarily right on. That's not the way to approach it. The greatest playwright of all time, the man with the imagination of 15 planets And some knob who went to Huddersfield Polytechnic is now deciding, oh, no, we can't have that. Let's take some more of your comments. Mark Gale. Hello, Mark. Glad it's good to see Gaunchy still telling it like it is. Needs to be on the radio again. Yes, Mark. Yeah, well, I think there's two hopes there, isn't there? Bob Hope and no hope. Absolutely no one's going to give me a job because I'm too dangerous. Because what I talk about is what really affects ordinary people. And today I'm talking about a revolution. I'm not suggesting we go out and man the barricades now in a kind of Lamuz way. But what I am saying is no political party is going to help us reclaim our country from the feral, the feckless, the freeloaders, the foreigners. No political party, because they've all got the black backbone of a blancmange or an amoeba. These people are useless. They're the kind of people who at school you'd beat up behind the gym because they're wimps. They're all wimps. Wimps and perverts, a lot of them. This latest one, Ivor Kaplan. You know the one who was found by the paedophile hunters? He got arrested, but he's now on bail. Listen, it gets worse. Go and have a look at Ivor Kaplan's Twitter, right? Just have a look at it. Don't start targeting him, but have a look at it. It's disgusting. And guess what? He's still printing and posting this filth. So clearly, the police didn't take the phone off him. Oh, no, because he's an ex-Conservative MP. Labour MP. He's a friend of Sir Keir. He's a friend of Dorothy as well, but that's all right. I don't mind him being gay. What I do mind is if he's trying to sleep with boys under the age of 16. That's against the law. That's the accusation. So how come he's not in or on remand? The boys and the men who went on the rampage after the slaughter of the 3 innocent girls in Southport. Don't forget the trials on January the 20th. That's next Monday. Starts the same day as the Trump inauguration. Isn't that weird? And that Councillor Ricky who thought everyone's throat needs slitting if they didn't agree with him. His trial starts the same day. And the guy who's accused of killing the British soldier, his trial starts the same day. Oh, what a coincidence. To Tia Kia. Do you see where I'm coming from here? Are you beginning to join the dots? So go and have a look at Ivor Kaplan and what he's got to say. And the fact that he's still on Twitter. And the fact that he's not locked up. How come people who shouted abuse or went on Facebook or on Twitter, how come they ended up in prison? Almost immediately. Don't get me wrong. The ones who burst into the hotel and were trying to burn it down and could have killed people. Yeah, I can see that. But Sir Keir became Sir Billy Big Bollocks, didn't he? And he used it as a way of trying to silence us. And if you don't believe me, now look at the latest thing. How about the latest thing they're trying to do? They want to censor what you can say in the pub in case it offends the barmaid. Oh, you're not allowed to call her the barmaid. The bar server, right? Bar wench, as they call them in the black country. Hey, wench, I'll have a boosting pint of boosting Bankses, right? The bottom line is, when I said this on Twitter last night, last time I was in a pub, the conversation we had was, could an Afghan hound, because they can run at 40 miles an hour, could that outrun Linford Christie, right? It's me and my mates, Robbie and Kevin. And it got into quite a good discussion because, you know, you get into, well, over what distance? Linford would probably be quicker at this bit and better. It's just an interesting conversation. It wasn't racist. It was just, he's our best ever sprinter, right? So an Afghan, if you know the answer, drop me a line via my YouTube if you could. And what was the thing? So and the other thing we discussed, I think we discussed women's football. Is it a sport? And do we need all those women, especially that Karen woman? What's her name? She goes, oh, she's just unbearable. She is. But she's just so loud. I don't mind them. I mean, I think today, match of the day, Gabby Yor, I think, is brilliant. Kelly Dalglish, I've forgotten her new name because she's married. What a woman. She's great. I work with her at Talk Sports. She's very, very talented. And Mark, Chapman, whatever his name is, great. That seems like a good team. Certainly seems a lot better than junk food pushing Gary Big Ears Lineker. Yeah, I'm all for that. And I bet you their combined salary doesn't get anywhere near what he was being paid. So I haven't got a problem with women commentating, and we were discussing this. What I've got a problem is when it happened with the rugby in a few weeks' time. It's the Six Nations, isn't it? So we'll get a scenario where you'll have some top professionals, right? Men who have played the game at that level and understand the physical ability of it. And then suddenly there's a woman there. You think, where's she come from? And she's evidently the most capped international England player ever. It happened with football. Wayne Rooney. I thought he was the guy who'd scored most goals. Oh, no. Not according to the BBC. It's some woman. You cannot compare it. I saw a little kid. He got some prize. And they said, top England international footballer is going to give you it. His face nearly dropped so much and he broke his kneecaps when that big tall woman walked on who runs the bakery in Manchester. She's a nice enough woman. Can't think of her name now. She does a podcast with Ian Wright, doesn't she? Fair enough. But she ain't the same as Wayne Rooney. She ain't even the same as Frank Lampard. Mind you, he's doing all right. I don't know how the hell he got that job at Coventry City, but I'm digressing. What I'm trying to say is it's this woke mentality which the majority of us aren't signed up to. So back to the pub. We're having our conversation about that. Then they got into darts. I believe darts is sport. My mate Robbie, who's much more sporting than me, he says, no, it's not. It's not a sport. So we have a right row about that. But in the conversations, all over the place. Like you're having a pub. End of the night, we're all legless, and we go home. No one's fallen out. Even though we might have said, you got an effing whatever about a certain subject. Are we not allowed to do that anymore? Well, no. Not in two-tier care Britain, because he wants to stop that. But it's not just him, it's all of the politicians. Why do you think the smoke? I mean, I was in favour of the smoking ban, and I think pubs are better because of it. But what it has done is killed pubs. Why do you think now they've imposed all this VAT on hospitality? They don't want us to mix. I'd rather sit in a pub full of smoke and still be able to talk to people, express ideas, be told my ideas are rubbish, have a row, have a debate, have no agenda. We didn't sit there with an agenda. So, all right, lads, here we are. Here's the agenda tonight. Do you think Linford Christie is faster than an Afghan hound, right? And the second agenda point, lads, I want to talk tonight about the EU. Yeah, that's not how you do it, is it? You just have a wide-ranging laugh and a chat. It's called the crack, but no longer. The woke politicians don't want that. Do you know why? Because I noticed the other day, yesterday I think it was, Nigel Farage was describing pubs as assemblies, as our local town halls, debating societies. He's got that off my mate Nick Hogan. Nick Hogan came up with that idea. The guy who went to prison during the smoking ban. He was a publican, lost his businesses, lost everything. But he's right. What a pub does, what a pub should do, a good pub, it brings people together. So I got my mate Robbie. He's ex-Jag. He's retired. Jammy git. He looks younger than me. And then you got Kev, who works for the BBC. Don't hate him for it. He's a nice bloke. And then my mate Bruce, who used to be a lecturer, right, in town planning or something. What a conversation we have. And it's wide-ranging. And it's a bit ribald. And it's often got lots of swear words in it. And we don't always agree. But I am not going to have to submit, surely, my agenda before I walk into a pub. And if some person behind the bar says, well, don't like that comment. Now, if I'm out and out racist or something, fair enough. But if I'm having a debate about Afghan hounds versus Linford Christie or about the EU, fuck off out of my conversation. Don't like it, don't listen. But that's what they want. Because what they want is the threat of it. That's why all those people got arrested in the riots for hurty words. It was to suppress, to oppress, to deny you your free speech. The very free speech that those brave lads died for on the beaches now where the Zeros are trying to get into our country. And that's what's at stake. And then you see the mess up Starmer. I just spoke to you about Ivan Kaplan. What about Tulip Siddiq? You couldn't make this bit up. She's in charge of corruption. She's just had to resign for corruption. Although he says, no, she's a good friend of mine and she's done the right thing. What's going on? What's going on? I think if we had a vote on her tomorrow, we'd be stringing her up from the nearest lamppost. metaphorically speaking. Let's take some more comments. Tried to get info in a community hub in Leeds. We're in a dumbed down society. I'm no bright spark. Sad. Thank you, Alan. Is it possible to get the police and the military on our side? No, because the police, the lads are okay. The lads and the lasses on the front line, the thin blue line, but they're officers. You can't get above being a sergeant unless you've been on the common purpose course, unless you know how to tie up your rainbow laces. Look, I'm not looking for a return to the 50s where we all took our forelock and we're all polite and all the rest of it. Yeah, I'm not saying that. But we need to have free association. We have to be able to speak. We have to be able to do things. I mean, this is why Elon Musk, lots of people don't like, we discussed him the other night. I think he's a hero. I think he's a bit odd, but I think he's a hero. The way that rocket is caught, woof. And then what he wants to do with free speech and Twitter, all your lefties and the woke idiots, I'm leaving Twitter. I'm going to Blue, whatever it's called. I'm going to this. I'm going to fuck off then. Bye. But you know what's funny? They're back. They're back now whenever they want to have a go at Farage. It's just a joke. These people had free reign for years on Twitter. I can't tell you how much I got slagged off. I'm still getting slagged off. I've got a few trolls who they dedicate their life to try and ruin mine. Pathetic creatures. Laughable. Labour, brackets, communist for you. Friends of the PM, says Ulick Howlett. Well, yeah, but it's not just... See, what I was trying to say today, it isn't just him, is it? Look at Rishi Sunak and where all the money went during COVID. Look at that, the way the Tories were. Look at Boris Johnson having a piss up all the time. Whether he only had one piece of cake or not, he's still a stinking hypocrite, isn't he? They're all the same. Self-serving pigs with their snouts. That's a good picture. In the trough. Anyway, where are we next? Don't forget Frodsome, Labour tosser, same day also, mate. Oh, yeah, you're talking about Ricky, the councillor. Yeah, I'm with you, Giovanni. Thank you, my friend. Lord Kilbarkan, legless is offensive to the differently abled. Yeah, that was an ableist comment. As soon as I finish, I'll whip myself, then I'll sit in a cold bath of semolina and I'll wash my mouth out with carbolic soap. I used to do that too. When I was in care, if you swore, that's what they did. Washed your gob out with that big carbolic soap. It's not on, is it? Anyway, where was the next? Starmer famously got booted out of a pub during the lockdown. I bet this is his revenge, says Laird Kabak. And yeah, that was in Cornwall. Yeah, no, he was in Cornwall. I love UK as it was in the old movies and TV shows, not as it is today. But the British people is the same. Love from Romania. Iancu Ian Christine. I hope I pronounced your name right. Thank you for your comments. Johnny Boy says, Facebook is dead. Come off it. Well, Facebook is another way of getting my message and my thoughts out there, just like X is or Twitter and YouTube. So I'm going to go wherever I can go, mate. And if I pick up my followers and my listeners and my viewers from all those different places. So anyway, I've got to finish now because I've already done. How long have I done? 33 minutes. These are meant to be 30 minutes maximum. If you like what I'm talking about, feel free to follow me on YouTube, Jon Gaunt TV. Subscribe, because there's going to be more live shows. I'm going to start doing live shows every day of the week. I just got to fix what time. I don't necessarily want it to be like bang on the schedule the same time, if you know what I mean. Follow me on Twitter, Jon Gaunt. Follow me also on Facebook. And if you like what I'm doing, you've seen all these names coming up at the bottom. These are all the people who've already supported me. They've given me at least a $5 to buy a cup of coffee. If you'd like to do that, let me just tell you where you go to do that. It's this one here. Please buy me. I'm getting quite good at this, aren't I? Please buy me a coffee.com. No, it's just buymeacoffee.com, actually. And then basically /Jon Gaunt. And then there we are. It's as simple as that. Great if you could do that, because I'm not learning any money from it at the moment. I mean, I will. Because as Mark Gale said, I should be on national radio. So soon some brave companies will want to be associated and will sponsor it. But at the moment, I'm requiring or requesting that you just chuck a $5 in, or some people chuck in 15 quid, 25 quid, whatever. Just keeps me going. Thank you very much indeed. Big thumbs up from Laird. Alan says they're all at it. Well, I do think with this paedophile thing, and I would say this because I was in care, but I think, and I saw things in care which are now being backed up. I think I mentioned it on the last broadcast. Chris, what's his name? Not Chris Kamara. Chris Akabusi. See, there's me being racist. 2 black people, and I immediately get the name wrong. I'm not racist. It's just the way your memory works, isn't it? Anyway, Chris Akabusi talked about some terrible abuse he saw at a children's home. It was word for word, my experience. So I'm really hot on this. And what I don't like is the fact, yes, it was a big news item. Now it's disappeared. Now we're not even locking people up. That Labour politician not locked up. I'm not saying he's guilty, but he should be on remand. He certainly shouldn't have access to a phone, but he has. And Starmer just wants to move on from it. We've got to keep the pressure on him on that level, because that is more important than all the other stuff. I mean, have you seen today the Chagos Isles? He wanted to obviously sell that off for 2 bob and a conker before Trump got inaugurated. It's not going to happen because Trump isn't going to let that happen, is he? And, you know, what an insult to us, the fact that I know, and I was the first one to mention this 2 days ago, Starmer's not going to the ceremony on Monday. Now they're saying, oh, yeah, but no PM's been. Well, PMs have been. And you think at the moment he'd do anything to get a ticket. We need to be in with America. But I don't think he wants to be. And so it becomes almost like, is this a conspiracy to wreck our country? You know, the way they don't get on top. I'm not just talking about Starmer, all the politicians. Why don't the Tories over the last 14 years get on top of the boats? I don't understand it. Why don't they get on top of it? Or do they want a bogeyman? Well, I think they do. And I think the political class, I think they're all the same. I think they're all the same. And we just get taken for mugs. So when I say the feral, the feckless, and the freeloaders have won, UK is dead, I'm not far off, am I? But can we rescue it? Can we turn it round? Maybe you think Nigel is the man who can do that. I don't know. Oh, somebody just says here, what about Baroness Simone? Yeah, good point, mate. What a good point. But we've got to do something. This is the country of Shakespeare. This is the country that brought democracy to the world. This is the mother of all parliaments. This is a country so full of tradition and culture. We should be immensely proud of our history, critical, but proud of it. But we're not allowed to be because of the woke. And the woke are the biggest enemy. Don't think your enemy is the immigrant who's come across from Calais to Dover. They're not really your enemy. The enemy is the woke. The ones who hate our way of life. The ones who don't like the flag of St. George. Who think we're plebs because we like going out and talking about Afghan hounds versus Linford Christie and getting a bit legless on a Friday night. They're the people. They're the enemy. Looking down their snooty. I've had it all my life because I'm a pretty clever bloke and I've done well for myself in terms of career. Maybe not at the moment, but no, I have, because this is all part of life's rich tapestry. I've met these knobs. They all think they're better than me and you. Or the worst one is, I mean, I got a job on The Sun. I genuinely believe that some of the top people on that newspaper thought I lived in a council flat because I could speak to people in my column, ordinary people. Well, a lot of people I was talking to didn't live in a council flat anyway. They were Maggie Thatcher's Tories, part of property owning democracy. But that's just how class-ridden we are. That's why the mainstream newspapers and broadcasters have no relevance whatsoever. Although I must say, and I slag her off a lot, Victoria Derbyshire, I used to work with her, but what a brilliant news night the other night. I caught the last few bits of it. She was talking to the people from the post office mistresses and masters, and there's a woman on there, 92 years old. She still hasn't got her compo. Now, you see, that's not just on Keir Starmer, is it? That's on that whole political class. They're obviously waiting for her to die. Despicable. It was a great bit of telly. It was a great bit of telly. And the lady, whose name I've forgotten, I must admit, she was really brilliant. So even the BBC sometimes can drop the woke and do something good. But I was in the cafe this morning and we were talking about Trump And basically, some people who I quite admire and respect, it was just cliche after cliche about Trump, all fed to them via the BBC. I don't know. Will it change when he gets into real power? I hope so, because he's saying some very important things about food, ultra-processed food. Saying some very interesting things about Zelensky and Ukraine and Russia. I don't think he'll be going over to lick President, whatever his name is, of China's arse and come back with, was it £60 million, thinking it's a great thing? I don't think he'll be doing that. He'll be fighting fire with fire. I said that to them this morning. They'll go, oh, Trump, but this, but that. I said, last time he didn't do that, did he? Well, how many wars were we involved in when Trump was in? And they haven't got a clue. And then you say, none. And they went, no. Yeah, but he's a rapist. Well, actually, he's not. He's not been convicted of that. Oh, yeah, but he's a felon. Okay. I've got a parking ticket. Does that make me a terrible person? I mean, I'm not saying I want him to babysit my kids or marry my daughters, but he's a leader, and that's what the country needs. Johnny Boy says, remember Boris, build back better. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. I've had enough now. Hope you enjoyed it. If you do, spread the word. Check out my YouTube channel, Jon Gaunt TV. Check out everything else as well, my Facebook and the rest of it. And I'm making a comeback. I'm making a comeback. making a comeback. Alan says, no, Alan, you've had too many goes today, and that's just bullshit what you say now. So I can't be bothered. I don't have to put up with nonsense, Alan, because I'm not getting paid by some big corporation. So, oh, you insulted him, John. Yeah, he deserved it. Anyway, look, I'll be back. I'll see you later. Check me out. The most important thing, if you've got kids, give them a kiss. Give them a hug. Hey. Don't forget to tell them you love them. The feral, the feckless, and the freeloaders have won. UK is dead. But can we revive this country? In fact, can we revive all Western democracies? Let's see. Speak to you soon. Cheers.